Hi, welcome to Shift Office Hours. I'm Cynthia Closkey, one of the partners at Shift, and here with me for the office hours is
Sarah Mayer. Hello, everybody, and welcome back.
So we're going to talk about a number of things this week. We've got some news to cover, just news around the marketing and advertising communications world. And then we've got two features we want to talk about. I would like to share some thoughts on landing pages, including what is a landing page. And Sarah, I know you're a great proponent of the very clean landing page, so I'm sure you're going to have a lot to say about that.
Yes, I sure will. I'll try.
I know you will. And then we're going to talk about SEO. SEO meaning search engine optimization. We've got, again, a lot of strong opinions about that. Good SEO, bad SEO, all sorts of things. So those are our topics for this week. But if you have a question, we would love to take some time and answer that, whether it's about one of the topics that we wanted to make sure to cover or anything else that's kind of troubling you or interesting you. So if you do have anything that you want to say, put it in the chat here on the YouTube live stream, or you can also email us at officehours@shiftcollaborative.com. Ooh, thunder. Can you hear that?
How what that was? I thought maybe your cat brushed up against your microphone.
Almost, yeah. So I guess there'll be some excitement. But so officehours@shiftcollaborative.com. Send in any questions and we'll talk about them. And that applies during the week too. Anytime you have one, we can pull together our thoughts for our next show.
That's right.
So news for the week, Sarah. What kinds of things did you see out in the world?
Well, so I've been having some struggles with speed performance on Chrome. So when a TechCrunch article came across my inbox about updates to Google Chrome, it piqued my interest. So they're making a bunch of interesting updates, and I think we're both kind of surprised to see QR codes listed in that headline.
And it isn't covered a whole lot in this article, so I need to look into that a little bit more. But I use Chrome all the time, and I know you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super excited about anything regarding performance and improvements with Chrome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I might be just having some isolated, computer issues right now in terms of performance, but it seems like, Chrome is really needing to perform better for me, at least. So I'm glad.
Yeah, no, it's infamous for being a huge memory hog. Both Chrome and actually Slack is another sort of long vilified for taking up a lot of cycles on your CPU, on your computer processor. Of course, those are the two apps that I use most every day.
All day. It's so hard. Yeah. It's so maybe I need to start, have times that they're open and times that they're closed, I guess. I don't know. Who knows? But
right.
Nonetheless.
So the performance, here's the QR codes that they talked about. A new QR code feature accessible from a QR code icon in the address bar. I'm not sure where that is, but so that's an interesting idea. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know how it's going to get used, but I guess we'll see what people make of it.
I think that you print it, there's a feature that allows you to print one. I thought I saw in this article.
Is that what it is? So you can print a QR code for a given page that you're on.
And it might not be the only execution of it, but I think I saw that in my quick scan.
Yeah. But the idea of speed improvements, it seems like what they're doing is they're adding some smarts into Chrome so that it knows which are the active tabs, so that if you keep open, as so many people do, like 20, 30 tabs, because they're things that you're kind of in the middle of working on, it will not devote as much processor time to the ones that are not the ones that are in front or whatever that you're working with actively, which seems like a smart approach.
Yeah. I think that works. I do try to limit my open tabs to like 5 or 6, but I usually have some open on one monitor and some open on another monitor. So I don't know if that's also causing problems.
Could be. But the other piece that they're doing, because people are so fond of all their tabs, is they've got this idea now of having groups of tabs. And they've got a little animation here on the TechCrunch article to kind of let you know that you can and this is perfectly sensible if you are the kind of person who like is working on several different things, has several different tabs related to like one thing that you're working on, one project. So you want to kind of keep all those together, kind of like what you're saying, I guess, on whatever window, and you don't want to lose them because that's the stuff you finally found, but you also don't need it right now because you're on a different project. So it's going to have this way of having a group of tabs, having a name for it, and then be able to kind of group it, hide it, put it away, and so on, without having to make whole sets of bookmarks, which is really smart.
Yeah, that's cool. It's fun.
And then there's a lot more things. Now this is all, just came out this week. This new series of updates to Chrome. So we're going to watch and see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know that they're all rolled out, but perhaps if you see the little update in Chrome, make it, and then you will be able to have it.
Yeah, and if you do notice changes in the speed for yourselves, let us know. Let us know what you're seeing, what you're thinking about it. So that was a pretty interesting thing. Another piece of news, which is maybe more pandemic focused, is that one of the longest running slogans in advertising is being, if not retired, at least put on hold for a little while. And it's finger looking good. Which turns out to be one of the Kentucky Fried Chickens, or they've already changed their name from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC, as a way to get away from this idea of like problems with people thinking about fried. So they had sort of changed their name officially from Kentucky Fried Chicken to KFC. I don't know, what was it, a couple of years ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's an interesting change too, because you can't really get the grilled or non-fried there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really all they've got these days.
Yeah, so if they're trying to de-emphasize the fried, I don't know if that's working.
Yeah,
but anyway,
it seems like a torn thing. But so they're going to move away from this idea of finger licking because of COVID-19, because of the virus, the pandemic.
Yeah.
They feel like it's just not appropriate right now to talk about licking your hands. Which, you could argue has always been true. I mean, any flu season,
Yeah, just in general, it's not great hygiene. But there was I'm not sure if it was KFC or if it was another brand that pulled it accidentally started running, but it was about like people at a party and they were licking each other's fingers off because it was so good, and it ran, but they pulled it pretty quickly. I can't remember if it's KFC or some other brand, but anyway, it's good that they are, making some changes for our current circumstances and kind of paying attention to that. We'll see.
I think they don't want to be completely tone deaf, but it seems like it's interesting that they're going to kind of try to, I don't know, have their cake and eat it too. They're planning to bring the slogan back when it's appropriate, when the time is right. But I can't tell if they're really going to redesign everything, or just kind of like, fuzz it out as it is in these examples that they've got. So
yeah, there's the billboard at the very top. I think that they're just kind of like it's a bad word right now.
They're acting as though
profanity.
it's just a swear, right? But I think the part that I was most surprised about is how old the finger licking good slogan is. It's 64 years old.
I had no idea. It predated my life.
Yeah,
I guess it's just always been around. Yeah.
It has, and I can't think of any slogan that has been around as long. Of course, you got to think of a brand that's been around for a long time. Maybe something like, the New York Times, all the news that's fit to print, might be along the same scale.
Yeah, or like really established institutions, financial advising firms. I don't know, like Merrill Lynch, or just really, really old banking institutions. Perhaps they don't change a ton.
Yeah, could be. So anyway, so Kentucky Fried Chicken. I actually just had some Kentucky Fried Chicken last week. I have it about once a year just to remember what it's like.
Yeah.
And always get the. Are you a fan at all, Sarah? It doesn't seem like you're.
I grew up eating it every now and again. So sometimes I will nostalgically want it. And my son like loves fast food because we don't ever get it. So he's always open to whatever we're going to go through a drive-through. What? I'm like, yeah, we are. So I think I've had it like within the last month or two. And that's why I know, because I was trying to order the grilled, like half a bucket of like grilled and half a bucket of fried, and that was not available. And maybe it was just that location. I don't know, but I was like, wah-wah.
Right. Well, when I was when I was there last week, they ran out of the extra crispy, so I had to get some extra, some of the regular as well. And that was fine. It was fine. I can remember as a kid though, when we would go get fast food, my mom would have to go to Wendy's for one of us and Burger King for another one. We all had different preferences. And I don't know whether that speaks more to the strength of the branding or to my mom's general, momness and kindness to us.
Yeah, willingness to go to all of the different drive-throughs.
Right. The
fries
nice are good at this one. The burger's better at that one.
But you know what?
Fortunately for us, they were all in one place.
Yeah, I've had this exact conversation within the last week with my son Jackson about, he's like, well, I like the French fries at McDonald's and I like the burger at Burger King and I like the chicken nuggets at Chick-fil-A. And like, he's got very, like you're saying, very distinct favorites.
I wonder if he could identify them in a taste test, a blindfolded taste test.
I'm sure he'd be happy for me to set one of those up.
Oh, do tell us how it goes.
I'll let you know. Speaking of the younger generation.
Speaking of the younger generation, so some other news that we saw this week is, of course, we're working, from home. There's your beautiful home behind you, your plants and a little bit of scenery there north of Pittsburgh. And I've got, my various prints and things here and cats walking by every now and again. I like the cats. I like working at home for the cats. But I think we're all thinking ahead toward, will there be a time when we can go back to the office?
Yeah.
And it seems like not everybody is equally excited about that in the future. Or some people maybe want it more than others.
Yeah, that's right. And I guess the sort of hook here of this particular piece of news is that the generation that wants to return is, I guess, a little bit surprising. It's not the younger generation that wants to go back. It's the older generation.
I think it's the other way around, that the younger generation is the one that wants to go back, which is surprising because we think of the younger people as being so computer savvy, really screen oriented, and maybe easily able to adapt to a more remote experience. But it turns out that in at least in the surveys that have been done most recently, 70% of Generation Z, as they're calling them, and 69% of millennials are finding it very hard to work from home compared to baby boomers. I mean, I don't know what it says about the people in between. What about Generation Y? What about the Xers like me? But comparing those two groups at the ends of the spectrum, the younger people are seem to be more eager to more having trouble working from home, mostly because of just the challenges of being in a shared space. Maybe they've got roommates or they've got a smaller space. They don't have a dedicated office like you do, like I do. And so it creates challenges and that they would not be facing once they got back to the office, people think.
Yeah. I also think, and I don't know why I mixed it up there at the beginning, I apologize, but I think that at the beginning of your career, there's just something about, forming those relationships with your coworkers in, a shared space and that shared experience that is a little bit different than, being at home and being isolated. You can still definitely have fun and create memories over Zoom, but this is a different feeling for them.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. And if you're, particularly in a large company, I was just talking the other day, yesterday with a client who was hired just 2 weeks before all the shutdowns happened in March. And so, newly hired, you're even just trying to connect with your coworkers and kind of get a sense of the company culture. Younger people have less experience to draw from on their own. Maybe have fewer connections within the company, and then they have to find these alternative ways of making them. And if your managers and the other people in the organization aren't helping you, you can feel a little bit lost, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then add just individual personalities. Certain people might take it upon themselves to reach out to people on LinkedIn that are, at the same company and start conversations, but other people might be a little bit more reserved and shy. So it's just harder. And, it's just kind of taking all of those variables into consideration. We just have a new landscape that we're all dealing with.
Right. We're in the middle of hiring some folks. And so we've been, of course, spending a lot of time talking about these challenges.
Yeah.
Within our team, we've got some ideas for the new people to set up, to kind of overcome some of those barriers that you just mentioned, people's different personalities, but to really encourage folks to, for example, have a virtual lunch with all of their teammates, just, within the first couple of weeks of getting hired, so that you have a chance to kind of get to know folks one-on-one the way you would at the office when you're, heating up your lunch at the microwave or waiting for someone else to get theirs.
Yeah, or the impromptu, let's walk to the coffee shop, and then you just are chit-chatting and, learning about each other. It's just not, those impromptu things are not happening these days as much.
Right. So we have to, it's a little bit more forced, but that doesn't mean it can't be also as effective.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, the older generation, or maybe it's not generational, but more seniority at the company. If you're, kind of in a management role, and you're a leader of the company, then you probably need to take it upon yourself to reach out to the younger, newer employees and make those connections, because they might be a little bit apprehensive about it. And you've been around, and so you be the leader that you are and reach out to them. Right.
Take on that role, take on that responsibility. And then it's good to do no matter what, no matter where your role is in the company.
Sure.
And these news articles that we've seen, we'll put the links to those down in the notes for the video. If you see anything during the week that you think is interesting, we're always looking for good news, or I should say any news, but good stuff to talk about. So I'd love to hear anything that you're seeing that's particularly notable, whether it's about advertising, communications, or marketing as a general topic.
Yep, absolutely.
One of the questions that came in today was one about landing pages. Like, what's a great way to build a landing page? And that, first of all, people need to know what a landing page is, but this is something that we spend a lot of time thinking about as a general thing. So how do you define, Sarah, how do you define landing pages to folks in general?
So typically, we're working with a landing page for its campaign specific, whether that be a paid campaign or an organic campaign. You're trying to create a compelling reason for somebody to visit your website. And the landing page gives you the opportunity to really focus in on that messaging and giving people exactly what they want based on responding to that message that they maybe see in a social media channel, or responding to a specific ad, where you can then serve up the type of content that meets their search intent. So that's, to me, it's a very strategic, streamlined page that allows you to give the audience that you're trying to reach what they want.
Yeah, so it's a page, and just to be extra clear for folks, it's either the page that an ad links to, so the page that when you click on an ad you end up on, or like a special page maybe that was built not for a digital ad, but like for a billboard or something. You'll have some special little URL domain that you send people to, and then wherever they go, you're trying to like continue the conversation for that ad or that search result or whatever it was. And so with whatever goal it is, maybe you're making a sale from that page, maybe you're just trying to get their contact information, whatever. You've got some single focus, like you're saying.
Yeah.
So as an example, I've got a couple examples that we had found through a cool article that was on HubSpot. HubSpot being, one of these companies that really focuses on the customer journey and customer relationship management. So of course they're eager to share good ideas. So this is one for Shopify. Now this is, you can tell it's not the main Shopify site. It is clearly branded for Shopify, but it doesn't have like the whole menu of all the things. But it's a focused landing page for, convincing you to start a free trial. So whatever ad you clicked on or whatever thing you responded to, it's about a free trial. So it must have been an ad that talked about a free trial. And then the page itself is super, super focused. It's this less is more kind of thing. It's not giving you a whole bunch of options. It's just going to let you do one thing. And then if you're not convinced yet, you want to enter your email address, it's going to try and persuade you with some compelling visuals, a very brief amount of information, and then some proof, proof points. These are all companies that are smart enough to use Shopify, and a quote from a CEO from one of those companies, and then again, start your free trial. So it's just, being laser focused on getting you to do the one thing that the ad itself originally started with.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's a nice one, I think, and real simple, real clean looking, keeps you on the page, keeps you really. You can leave altogether, but it's not going to like distract you in any way.
Yeah, I agree.
Another example I had seen was this one for Airbnb, a little bit different in that it does have some other things that you could do if you wanted to learn a little bit more. But again, it's really focused on presenting a very positive visual, a strong visual that kind of makes you feel the Airbnb experience of being a host, of being a guest, and then it's leading you. It's not making you sign up. It's just like, hey, just tell us about your place. Here's how. Let's it's trying to just start you to do one small thing, one tiny thing. They do have a lot more on this page as you go down. So like if you're not persuaded, they've given you a little bit more of a story to this, but it's still a pretty clean look. Would you change? Are there things in this that you would change, Sarah?
Well, I haven't looked at the whole page, but I think it's interesting how they put the, I'm assuming, anchor links at the top, like a table of contents, because it is, if it's a long page, and even that Shopify one was pretty long. So it allows people to jump to, they've put the topics that probably they've done a user survey. They know what people are most interested in, understanding if they're going to become a host. So they've probably optimized the content around those topics. And then they put this table of contents here. Or is it taking you to separate pages?
I think they're actually separate pages.
Interesting. That's interesting. I'm sure that they're keeping them inside a particular area for a given time for those pages, and they have tracking probably between all of those to know which particular page a person converts on. So that could be interesting to see. And it's interesting.
It seems like this section is really focused on hosting as opposed to being a guest. Right. So maybe that's kind of what you're saying. So it's not maybe a traditional landing page in the way we would say. I suspect that they're doing exactly what you say, though, in that they are analyzing the results from this page and spending some time with A/B testing. In other words, testing variations to see which ones perform better, and then focusing on the ones that really work.
Yeah, I wondered actually on that Shopify one, I was surprised to see the button black in that top part, and then it switches to green at some point on this page. And usually you see button colors more bright, vibrant, like a red or a pink, like that one, the pinkish fuchsia one that was on the Airbnb one. So that's interesting.
More of a warm color, because warm colors tend to draw the eye more, and cool colors tend to recede.
Yeah, right.
Their brand, I didn't think that their brand palette was so restricted, but maybe it is.
Yeah, who knows? But
perfect
again,
thing
that's
to test.
Right. Yeah, I'm just gonna say that.
Say it in sync.
Yeah. Test.
So here's another one that the HubSpot article had highlighted, which this is about, this is appealing to a certain market of a fleet manager. In other words, someone who manages trucking fleets. And so this is a ebook conversion page where the ebook is probably, again, part of, you know, you don't decide to move to, you know, a fleet management tool just on a whim. This is not sort of like a, I'm frustrated, so let me go buy a whole new tool. I'm sure it's a long process, long decision process. And so they've got to take some time to kind of cultivate people, educate them on opportunities, maybe even make them aware of them. And so an ebook is a way that you can do that, some sort of an inexpensive thing to deliver, but something that's going to provide real value to people. And in exchange, hopefully, for some contact information, so you can do that cultivation. And that's exactly what these folks are, Nacho is doing here, where they've got a simple little story, then they've got a form. And this is all focused within just this one, above the fold, as we say, one single screen. And then they do go on. And I don't know what all is in the ebook, if they're saying is this much here, but they're definitely just trying to get you to kind of see, you know, how to, what their product is. If you're, you know, the ebook is going to give you some more information on it, but it's not giving you a lot of choices other than get the ebook and give us your information. So, and I think all of these buttons are just pulling you back up to the top of the page.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, and I think, so what we call this in marketing is a lead magnet. So you're saying, hey, we have this thing for you, this piece of content we think is going to be valuable in helping you make a decision. And in exchange, we would like your contact information. So it's, you know, supposed to be a win-win situation, I guess. And so that's just to throw out some jargon. Lead magnet is what this is called. And it works in social media campaigns pretty well for a B2B audience specifically. And in places like LinkedIn, it can be very successful. In fact, they usually recommend you offer something. You know, you want to compel somebody to give you their information in this kind of a case, in a B2B decision. And I think where it's different from those other pages is that the form is above the fold. And it used to be, do not put your form below the field. You know, you can test whether it should go on the right or the left or the middle, but it should be above the fold at all times. And that has changed over time because some decision makers want to read more. They want to learn a little bit more before they give over their information. And so you will see more buttons that then jump you down to the form these days.
Maybe the more complex the decision process, the more information you need to share in different ways.
Perhaps.
But in this case, they just want to get a hold of your company information, your fleet size, so that they can then put that into some channel, whether it's a salesperson, a sales rep, you know, following up, or moving you on to some sort of an email drip campaign. Could be a number of things.
There's a number of fields. There's a number of fields too, which again, usually kind of the best practice is 4 fields, and maybe 1 isn't required just to give somebody a freebie. So that has a lot of fields. And you know, I think that because it's a B2B audience and because you are giving them something, I think that you can probably have a little bit more liberal approach to the number of fields.
I guess that would be their thinking. And I'm assuming that they're putting these fields in to help them decide who are the people to respond to, or how much effort to put into the follow-up. So,
right.
Or whether they even have their product available in the country.
Right.
And so one more landing page, and again, maybe this is more of the traditional, this is a little bit of a break from the traditional style because they've got some menu items and so on, but the idea of Trulia, one of these companies that is in the real estate market, just trying to get you to do one thing, you know, just try something out in some small way, to kind of, you know, but with the idea, I think that if they can get you to do something and interact with the page a little bit, you're then going to be likely to kind of stay on the site. Although they are showing me neighborhoods all over the world, I guess, all over the country.
So not sure where you are.
Yeah, they really aren't. Although they do have this here. So they've done some kind of checking based no doubt on my IP address. The address that my computer, really my cable modem is saying that I'm in is giving some indication that I am in the Pittsburgh area. And so that's how they're able to target that way. But I think what this is, again, it's a real clean look, and it's not just their, their regular branding is also generally you want your website to look clean and light and open. But I think in addition, they've added some nice visuals, because I think among the things that are probably helping when people are deciding to buy or sell are houses themselves are really good looking images to kind of just, tempt you in, let you feel kind of calm or excited or whatever the vibe is they're trying to convey. Mm-hmm. It is a pretty short page, the page as a whole.
Yeah, it is interesting in terms of a landing page, though. It might not be for a paid. I mean, not that.
Yeah, maybe not.
The free app.
That could be. So again, to just remind folks, the kinds of things that you do want on your whatever your goal is, you're going to want some appealing aesthetic, a less is more. Get your form, whatever the entry is, the thing you want people to complete, keep it up as high on the page as you possibly can. Try to keep the visitors on the page by really limiting the menus and the other kinds of things that they do. Don't let them get distracted. Don't let them wander away until they've done the thing that you want them to do. You can always offer them more after they fill in the form. Mm-hmm. And then test. Just try different things. Check out a different, what happens if you make that start free trial button yellow? Does that convert better or not? Mm-hmm. And finally, make sure you've got a very clear call to action. What's the one thing you want people to do?
That's the important thing right there. The sanctimonious single call to action. You do not want to put multiple things for somebody to do on a page, because likely they won't do any of them. Mm-hmm. Especially in a paid campaign. You really want to focus on, well, do I want them to register for this event, this webinar that I'm having, or do I want them to fill out a lead form or join my newsletter? Like, what is as you said earlier, the main goal for this landing page? What is the job that you are asking it to do? Convert or excite or whatever it is. Educate.
And so what are the things when we're working with clients, what's the hardest part for people to get, do you find? What do people have trouble kind of, or need the most persuasion about, I should say?
I think what we were just talking about, for one, the single call to action, but I have so many good things that I want them to do. It's hard to say, well, we're going to give them a link back to your full website if they do want to continue to explore after they've done the action that we want them to take. So that is can be a transition for a lot of people that view their website as, a place where you can find out everything. I think the other one is that, especially in a paid campaign, but I would recommend it for any kind of campaign, we're stripping out the header, the navigation, hopefully the choices that you have poured over to make and put in that top level navigation, because they are the things that people need to do. We're saying, no, we don't want to show that to people. And often there is a, customized footer that doesn't have links either. Maybe that's where you put the link back to the full website. So those are, typically the challenges that I come up against when we're first working with a client that's never done a paid campaign or doesn't really, has never done it. So it's, our opportunity to educate them on how that all works.
Yeah. One thing that's been interesting, I'm just thinking about it now, is lately, as we've been doing ad campaigns on Google, they have what are called a dynamic campaign, where Google itself basically will say, hey, I've got some search engine traffic I want to send your way. Can I just do that? And you're like, sure, Google, I'll give you money. But then Google basically does all of the work, and by that, I mean, it comes up with what's the text for the ad, and it comes up with what page on your website they're going to send people to. So clearly, if it's just a page on your website, it's not a landing page, it's just a website page. And so my experience so far with these dynamic campaigns, which seem like, for the reasons that you just said, seem like they shouldn't quite work, but they actually do, because Google is choosing which traffic to show them to. And so they're people that Google already, for whatever reason, based on maybe their patterns, of wandering around the web, other websites that they've visited, they're recognizing, hey, this person is what I guess Google calls in market. They are someone who's making a buying decision right now. And so they're primed to make a decision. And Google also knows which kinds of pages they look at. Probably, often, like, it could be the homepage of a website, but it also could be the plans and pricing page or something else. And Google knows that this person is likely to convert if I just get them to that page for you. And so those campaigns tend to have fewer impressions, but high conversion rate relative to another kind of ad campaign.
Yeah. And you can say, here are the 5 organic pages I want you to send traffic to, because I have a form on those pages, or I have a button to a form on those pages. So you can't, you don't have to just open it up to your whole website that might not be as optimized as some other pages. So, and you can also say, well, we're going to try out this ad style and type. And so we're going to, make sure all of our service level pages and our plans and pricing pages do have a conversion path for people to take. So we're actually going to be implementing it in a few campaigns that we've had with clients that have been running for years and years and years. And we're always optimizing, and we're always, putting new keywords and, testing landing pages and fresh creative and all those things. But this is when you try a whole new ad unit, that's always a fun experiment. So
yeah, for sure. And it's interesting then to be able to compare. We've had clients that we've done that with ask, well, then why should we just switch over to this completely? And the answer is not necessarily. I mean, if there were more traffic, Google would be already sending it. So as long as you're not seeing some recommendations to increase your budget, they're showing it to the right people, and there's only so many of those people that are at the point where they're able to know that much about them. So that would be a reason why on some of these things, for example, that we were looking at, you might be seeing a regular website like the Trulia one, maybe because it was the result of a dynamic ad.
Cool. Well, that's landing pages in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say one more thing. If folks see any cool landing pages in the course of your wandering around the web, send them our way. I'm always interested to see best practices and share out some of those examples. So let us know if you see anything that really strikes you as awesome or really strikes you as broken.
Awful.
We won't necessarily call the broken people out, but good for a laugh, I suppose.
Cool. All right. So maybe a good time, break in action, to suggest people chat some questions to us if they have any using the chat. And always you can send questions our way that we'll look at, probably not right now, to our email address that we look at outside of this moment in time. And that email address is officehours@shiftcollaborative.com.
Yes, absolutely. Love a good question. And love to be able to share that with folks, because I'm sure even if you don't have a question, it's nice to learn from what other people are asking.
Yeah, you might not know you have a question until somebody else asks it.
Right. And if you're searching for answers, that kind of makes me think of like a segue to our next topic, which are our search engine optimization strategies.
Yes. So search engine optimization, or as you probably see if you Google anything about marketing, or digital marketing, I should say, SEO for short. So what we know is that more than 90% of online experiences start at a search engine, which is a lot. A lot. Actually, higher.
I think there's a piece of that where people type things into the search engine, and then that turns, they like type in the actual address they want to go to. But even still, when people are buying things, they're looking online, they're doing their research. And so if you want people to find you, you've got to make sure that your website is built in a way, both the strategy of the content of it and the technical kind of code behind the scenes, that makes it something that Google and Bing and the other engines are willing to say, hey, you are the information that I know somebody that wants this.
Right. So matching organic search queries of a user to content that makes sense, because then the user's happy and they click through, and then that business or organization is happy as well. Everybody wins. But generally, what SEO is, for those that would like a hard and fast definition, is just the practice of driving more traffic to your website through organic means. So not paid or any other method, but just through those search terms. So given that, Cynthia, and I know you know the answer, but for all the folks watching from home, what do you think is the most important aspect of SEO?
I would say the most important aspect is having content that has the words in it that people are searching for, or something close enough that the search engine can recognize that it's the same topic. So actually writing about the thing that they are looking for.
Right. And so
and this is like the battle that I have. This is a battle I have. That a client will tell me, people don't read, so don't put a lot of words on my website. I've literally had clients say that. And I'm like, how will anyone find you? Do you want people to find you? Some people don't. They feel like their website is just going to be something that once someone gets a business card or whatever it is, that they'll go and look at the site then and just verify it's real business. But otherwise, I mean, how will Google know what your site is about if you don't put words on it that it's about?
Yeah, you do need the words. And, there's a lot of best practices around, how many words, and you might have different types of pages on your website. So you have perhaps, those more evergreen or static pages that don't change that much, your about page, or, services or something of that nature. But then you're writing new, fresh content for a blog area, for example. And so, that's where you can put a lot more words. And so there's some best practices around perhaps, you want at least 300 characters on a page, words and exclamation points. Actually, you should probably not put as many exclamation points, periods.
Definitely.
Don't overdo it on the exclamation. But there's short form and long form, getting into some jargon, but the long form is really when you see what you see in a blog area or white papers or case studies where you can really dig into a topic. And what you're doing there is not only telling Google, hey, I have a lot of, really great content here about this topic, but it's good for the user too. And so what's good for Google is often good for the user and vice versa. So yeah, the words on the page, really important. And that is what is actually called on-page SEO. So it's essentially anything inside of your website that you're putting on the page, the text, the images, and the kind of the code behind it, because the human might not be reading the code, but Google is. They're looking for things back there to make sure that they're directing people to the right places.
And if something's called on-page SEO, if that's one component of it, that sort of leads us to think that there's a thing called off-page SEO, right?
Why? Yes, there is. Of course there is. Good observation. Yeah, so off-page SEO is, as you can imagine, the things that take place outside of your site that direct people into it. They're signals, if you will. So you'll often hear backlinking. So if you, let's say you send out a news release and a reporter decides to cover you in, a publication, whether it be a local, newspaper or magazine or a national publication, that link of your brand name back to your website that's a really high quality link. And it signals to Google that, again, that this is the right content to send a user to. So other bloggers can backlink to you. There's lots of different strategies that, and maybe you have some ideas on those types of strategies to get folks into your website from other credible sources.
No, and linking is really, when you think back to the beginning of Google, that was really Google's big innovation, I guess, was looking at the links between pages on the web. And remember, this is year 2000. There's not that many websites as there are now, but links from one site to another. So I think it was Sergio that had figured that out. That thinking about the number of links a website has that are pointing to it is an indicator of the quality of the content of it. If people are linking to you, you must be saying something useful. And so they created this algorithm, their very first sort of like calculations, which had to do with the number of links in, and then wherever the sites were that were linking in, their credibility was calculated from the links to them. And so kind of what you're saying, a newspaper website that has a lot of people linking to it, by definition, is a highly credible site. So you want links from places that are highly credible. Getting Wikipedia to link to you, again, a site that a lot of other people link to, that then links to you, gives you a lot of punch. And so the linking is really the secret sauce of the web. And so getting people to link to you is important. And the way that you do that is by, you can always ask them, but the way to do it is by having such great content, people want to point people to you.
Yeah. And there's two things that what you just say reminded me of. Something that developed from that sort of negatively was that a lot of, web developers and designers realized in the early days that the algorithm was rewarding people with a lot of links in. And so there's something called black hat SEO, which, as you can imagine, is like the no, don't do that. And there was some folks just like really gaming the system and throwing up sites with a bunch of links into their site, and just really chaotic, awful websites that were really put up for the purpose of inbound links. And of course, Google caught wind of this pretty quickly-ish and changed their algorithm, and a bunch of people that were ranked really high got dropped like to page 30 or something like that. So, that's why it's important to, pay attention yourself to changes to search engine algorithms. They quite frequently make changes, so you don't have to, look every day or anything, but once a month, or you can work with folks like us and we can keep up to date on it for you and make sure that your website is doing all the smart, good things. The other thing that what you were just talking about brought up is hyperlinking internally. So you've got all sorts of pages on your website, and especially if you have a blog and you have some, really helpful evergreen pages. If you're writing a blog post about a topic, if you link a keyword about that topic to another piece of content on your website internally, that's an internal link. And those are factors in Google's algorithm as well. So,
I mean, the key, like you say, building good content and then pointing to other good content, whether it's yours or others, is being a good web citizen. It's helping people find the right things, and by the way, it's also helping search engines realize what is important and what's going on the web. Yeah. So those are our on-page techniques and off-page techniques, right. And all of that is the stuff that you really see on the site. But then there's all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes.
There is, and that's called technical SEO. And so this is referring to processes to optimize the sort of what's happening behind a page for the search engines who are crawling it and looking at the code and reading that in a way that tells them how to rank this. This is where the algorithm comes into play. So, you can make sure, for example, that if you have some images on your page, that you've put alt text on them so that it's describing what's happening in the photo. And if you can get the main sort of keyword focus or topic of the article into that description, that is going to be better for not only the search engines to kind of give you a better ranking, but also for people that might be visually impaired and have a a reader that's reading the images to them, having the file name be image underscore 007 doesn't really help them, and it doesn't help Google either. So it really, just taking the time to make sure that that is happening at minimum is good technical SEO. And because it's technical, it can get very technical. So I don't know that we're going to kind of like deep dive into the technical parts of it. And you might need someone to help you with that, but is definitely a part of it as you're thinking, and sort of kind of goes with on page and just optimizing the pages and the content, and, kind of making sure that you're doing some good things on the back end as well.
Sure. I think we could show people real quick, if we have a second. I know we're coming close to the end of our time here, but I could show people real quick just the page title piece of that.
Sure.
So let me do that. So here is a screen with the Shift website. There it is. And
look
so
at that fancy bird.
Look at the bird. So you can see we've got our page sort of starts out with a little bit of a picture and a little bit of text, and we've got a whole bunch of links then to things within the site, kind of doing all those good on-page and off-page things that we just talked about. But then if I switch over to, like, if you were to Google us, what you would see in the search results, and this is just Googling our name as though we're, anybody, you see that the website address, that's the address for our homepage. And then this text here, Shift Collaborative, this is the title, that the code of the page is saying that is the title that Google should show at the top. And then we've put in a little description. And so within the code of the site, you can put in a title and a description that tell people tell Google what's on the site. And then Google can use that then to decide, is that the page I should return when someone types the words Shift Collaborative into a search bar.
Right. And so that description part is called the meta description. And there's some best practices, and I hope we get to do it today, which is to show, for those who have a WordPress site, the Yoast plugin, and how you can, affect change for your technical SEO using the Yoast plugin, essentially, and change that up.
Right.
But yes.
And then these little snippets down here that these inner site links that Google has chosen to show, that these are pages that people are most likely, that Google has noticed people are most likely to visit on our site. Job openings, not surprisingly, and our blog has a lot of content. So those are the pages that Google knows people are likely to visit. So instead of just sending them the homepage, it's saying, hey, you might want to check out these pages because they seem to be the ones that people want to search for.
Take you right there. So yeah, and we can talk about that from a paid perspective, because then you can tell Google which ones to show. Whereas with the organic one, it's saying, like you are, they're gonna make it be the ones that seem most popular and give the users what they want.
Right. Google is all about user satisfaction.
It is. And we talked about some of the changes that Google is going to be making in 2021 to their algorithm to even further optimize their algorithm for the user, for user experience. And so that is called the Google Core Web Vitals update. And that is widely out there. We've covered it on Office Hours, so you can go back. I don't know which episode it is. I think it was in June. But that is something that if you put stuff on your website and you care about SEO, you should definitely look at that.
Yeah. So basically, it's going to be these things that we're talking about, they're all going to remain true. There's just be more things to think about as Google continues to refine its algorithms and its priorities based on user experience.
Right. Yeah. Just staying fresh and on top of things, because search changes based on behavior. So the real quick, the last part of SEO, in case you're like, Googling different types of SEO and you were like, they didn't cover this one, which is local SEO. And so think about, the listing, which I think actually on the page that when you search Shift Collaborative, the Google My Business listing was also as part of that search result. So it gives the basic general information about a business, which could be a physical business that wants customers to come in, or could be businesses that are maybe more service-based or, you know, business to business based, and they don't have a physical location. Both of those types of businesses can have Google My Business listings. So what's great about this and what's really important for SEO is a couple of things. One, you can curate what people see here. As you can see, we have our office dog Bean and, you know, the map location, and there's some other photos if you like actually look at the profile itself that we've added. Users can add profiles, or sorry, add pictures. And so like a restaurant, a lot of times you'll see like different food dishes added, and, you know, that's helpful if you're, you know, evaluating if you want to eat there or not. For us, it's helpful to know we have an office dog and that we love animals. And if you love animals, then maybe you'll like being our client.
Nostalgic here for our office. I miss it.
I miss it. It's a real bummer, but there it is. We know it's there for us when we're ready to go back.
It's still there when we're ready to go back.
Yeah.
There's a nice photo of our branding things. Makes you happy. Aw. Oh.
I know. It makes you kind of weepy, but it's there. And then the other piece that is really helpful for local SEO is the reviews. So, you know, boosting consumer confidence in your product or your service is often going to come from other people that have experienced your product or service, and that's going to validate it for your prospective customers. So there's a lot of strategies around, you know, getting those reviews and, you know, managing any, if you do get a negative review, you have the opportunity as the business owner to respond and make it right, or, you know, just add a little bit of context to the situation, whatever it might be. And sometimes it's best to not respond at all, but that's a whole nother topic that we could talk about. Strategies to get reviews and how to respond to reviews. But those, that's some of the sort of features of a local SEO strategy. And obviously right now too, Google is really advocating that business owners have control over this listing, because if you right now, given the, you know, pandemic and the different changes, if you have to change your office hours, or you don't have office hours and you're completely online now, a lot of people are getting that information right from the Google My Business profile first. So important to keep that up to date for the times.
I muted myself because the thunder and the rain are so loud here, but this is such a big topic, I think, and it's a great tool. Again, these results come up not just in Google, you know, .com, but when you use Google Maps or other tools that Google provides. So it's such a great resource that, again, there's no cost to use it to adding information to this. You'd be crazy not to put more information in for your Google local business listing. And it's so important that you're going to actually do a whole show on this shortly on our regular video channel.
That's right. We just did a recording. We have to do some editing, and we'll be releasing that as part of our Shift On video series to let people know how to create and optimize their Google My Business listing.
Excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself. Always pick up a good tip.
Yeah. So we have like 2 minutes. Do you think we have time to do like a quick tour of Yoast? What do you think?
I think the most we could do, although I think it'd be a valuable thing to see, but I think the most we can do is just say what it is.
What it is.
Maybe I can show that super duper fast. All right. So let me switch.
Website, I guess.
Talk amongst yourselves for 30 seconds while I get myself logged in.
Sure. So Yoast, it is a plugin that is spelled like toast, but with a Y at the front instead of a T. And it's a plugin that is one of our go-to. It's on every single site that we design at Shift because it's such a useful tool, and they have a free version, which is great and feature rich, even though it's free. And then if you want to get some more enhancements, they have a premium version. And on top of that, they have a great website and they put a lot of great articles. It's one of the places where we as practitioners of SEO stay up to date, because they're always writing such great up-to-date content and doing all such of fun workshops and ways to keep us on top of our game. Was that enough filler? Do I need to keep going? You're on mute. You're on mute.
It was good. And here I am going to now quickly share. This is inside WordPress, looking at our website and now looking at our homepage. And you can see we are using a bakery builder, WP Bakery Builder, as our editor for here. But also on the page is the tool that you were just talking about, our Yoast, a panel for Yoast right here. So let me collapse that menu so you can see this a little bit better.
Yeah.
So on this
is our home. This is our home page, right?
This is our home page. I'm going to mute myself so the thunder doesn't drop.
So yeah, this is our homepage. And so one of the things that Yoast plugin asks you to do is choose a focus keyword. So this is a, keywords or phrase that is likely what somebody puts into the search engine to find this page that you're identifying and optimizing for. So it's our homepage, our brand name, that makes sense. You can change this, if you're finding pages that you have up aren't performing as well, you can change and edit the content. But basically, once you put that keyword in there, the plugin is going to scan the page to see, are you using it as a headline? Are you using it in a couple of paragraphs? Is it a hyperlinked phrase to another page on your website? Is it in the alt text? All these different places that we kind of just talked about, they do that work for you and give you a score and say, because of this keyword that you've just put in or phrase, this is your score. And green is good, the best you can get. And then it gives you ways to improve things that you can change and update. So it's so super, super helpful. And this is the free version, by the way. So it's just really, really an awesome tool that we don't have a lot more time to talk about because the time is up. But this is a very, very, very high level primer for those that have a WordPress site. If you're not using Yoast, then we would definitely encourage you to check it out. And if you have questions about Yoast, please let us know. We use it all the time, so we are happy to answer any questions about it. Is it still thundering there?
It just was the loudest crack. So I think that's a sign that maybe it's time to time to wrap up before my power actually goes out.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen, but if it does, you can always go to the office.
Maybe I can. I was so sad to see it there. I was so happy to see it there.
Yeah.
But this has been good. And so folks have, like you say, if anyone has ideas or questions about SEO, send them in. We clearly it's a huge topic and we can spend some time in an upcoming episode doing a little bit more of a deep dive into how to use Yoast, which also would help you know how to do some things with other tools because the underlying principles are the same from anywhere on the web.
Right. That's right. So yeah, we can, we're super interested in it. So if you are too, let us know and we will plan to bring it back into the office hour world.
Absolutely. And with that, have a happy Friday afternoon, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Stay dry.
Bye. Bye-bye.